Hello, my name is Eduardo and today I am here with a new tutorial for Thunkable or AppInventor. Well, this tutorial I just had the Spanish version for this tutorial and now I am making this in English, okay? So well, the idea of this app I'm gonna show you right now. Here you have this kind of bucket and it is just like catching balls. Okay, so basically that is the idea. We have here this canvas and then in the canvas so we have these options to pick the balls. If you see, the balls are coming from somewhere else, so because the canvas it is larger, now every time the bucket gets these balls or catch these balls, it gets slower. Okay, so that means that it's like kind of heavy or something. So that's it. Okay, basically that is the idea. If you check, we have here a score, so using some PNG images, and that's it. So we are ready to start with this tutorial. So for this tutorial you will need some images and we're going to use here some balls. Also you have some messages for game over, for start game, etc, etc, etc. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting tutorial. Okay, so and we are going to have, I guess, more than one part, okay, for this tutorial. Well, so let's start. The first thing that we need to check, it is all the materials that you need. As usual, well, not as usual, but I will share this resource file or AIA file from Thunkable or AppInventor. Okay, if this video gets 25 likes, okay, I will share the starting file for you to work. Okay, so now, as I told you, you need some files to work with. So basically, you can create the cube, okay, or this kind of bucket, or you can create everything. I did all the graphics in Inkscape, okay? So I recommend you get these files or try to make these your own files, just as usual, and that's it. So let's start. For that, I'm going to show you just the files that I was using, the images. So we have here in folding, and these are the files. I have numbers from 0 to 9. They are set like this kind of rectangular form. Then we have sounds that I haven't used. I have this one, the main character, that is this one. It is 64 times 64. I have an image for the canvas. It is 512 times 512. I have this background for the screen, not for the canvas. And this is 1024 times 512. Then I have this one, this little bar, that it's for the balls. Okay, it is like it is a rectangular that it's going to help us to detect collisions. Then we have this image for the game over and for the start game, and more sounds. Basically these are all the things that you need. Remember, if we get 25 likes, I will share these files with you. Well, now let's start. Well, to start, we're going to go and we're going to create a new screen, okay, just to start over new. So for this English version, and we're going to start preparing the screen. Okay, the first thing that we need for this screen, it is to add I guess we're going to add first, we're going to set everything to responsive. Remember, in the screen number 1, if you're working in screen number 1, you just go to the part that it says sizing and you change to responsive, because we are going to be using percentages. Now let's go here to the working screen. So here we have this, and we're going to add layout, horizontal layout or horizontal arrangement. we're going to set it to high. What about if we set it to 80%? So we're going to set it to 80%, and then we're going to set it this one to 80%. We want to have a square, something more than a square, okay? So we reduce this one to 65. It looks better. Probably this to 75. I guess we need to reduce this more. What about 50%? I guess that's okay. We're going to center everything. Yeah, I guess it looks better. Now, we're going to rename this horizontal arrangement, and we're going to call it canvas horizontal arrangement. And we're going to insert in here a canvas. We go to drawing and animation, and we're going to insert the canvas. Now for the canvas, we're going to use similar values. For the width, 75. And for the height, here you have 50. I guess we're going to set it to 80%. So now, if you check, now the canvas, it's bigger than the horizontal arrangement. But obviously the horizontal arrangement, it is not displaying all the canvas, but the canvas is bigger. It's like if we have here a space to have sprites, but they are not going to be, this space is not going to be visible for users. This is good for us because we want the balls to fall from here, from here, from here, from here, not from here. Okay, well, that's the idea. We have the canvas, and then we need another layout, another horizontal arrangement that we are going to use. We are going to insert the other horizontal arrangement, the canvas horizontal arrangement, inside this one. We're going to set this horizontal arrangement, and we're going to call it frame horizontal arrangement. We're going to create a frame. Okay, so basically that is the idea. So we just check. If you want, you can take it out just to see everything. We have canvas upside. I guess I move some things. Well, yeah. We have the canvas and the frame. The frame is the one that it has, oh, it's a mistake in here. This one, the canvas, and this one, the frame, we're going to set it similar to this one. Instead of 50% from the canvas horizontal arrangement, we're going to set it to 55%. Then we're going to set the width. If this is 75, we're going to set the other one to 80%. Percent, not pixels, okay? Then we're going to change the color. We're going to set something like brown. And then we're going to go here just to see changes. I'm going to reduce this for you to see. Now it looks quite the thing. Now canvas, it has to have another color. Let's say that now for canvas we want to see the pink. Now this horizontal arrangement, it has to go, the canvas has to go inside this one. Okay? If you have problems to move everything, well, that's it. Now, in the frame horizontal arrangement, we have to center everything. Also, in canvas horizontal arrangement, we have to center. Screen center, and center, it's okay for now. We have in the center everything. And then we're going to remove the color. And then of course you have to import all your images and all your stuff, okay, necessary for you to work. So now in this case I'm going to use the background for my canvas, and I have here canvas background. I'm going to go here to canvas background. I set it over there, and that's it. We have this canvas. Now for the screen I need another background that it has catch BG. I guess this is the one. If not, it is fondo. I don't remember. Yes, it's this one. So we have the canvas inside an horizontal arrangement, and inside this horizontal arrangement is inside another canvas that is this frame. Okay, so basically that is the stuff that we just have. Then we just need to go to drawing and animation, and then we are going to drag 3 balls. 1, 2, 3. Then we need the image sprite for our hero. And the balls, we're going to change the color for the balls. I am using here Thunkable, so you have more options in colors, but you can use AppInventor too, and then you can add the colors in the blocks. Wow. Now here, some more, another one. What about the purple? I like the band. And finally we go for this one. So you have the 3, don't worry about everything else. Okay, so you have this, and now for this sprite we're going to rename it, and we're going to call it bucket sprite. That's it. We're going to use the picture for this guy, that is canvas. Let me check which is the picture. Canasta. That is like basket or something. Well, we have everything, so we're ready to start. I guess let me check if I am not missing anything. I guess yes, that's okay. So we are going to start working with the blocks. Okay, so remember the first thing that we need now, it is to start like setting the size for these guys, for the circles. Let's start working with the circles. So we are here, and now we are going to create something about resizing our character and positioning for the initialize, and also for the circles or balls. Now the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a procedure. So for this procedure we're going to call it initialize procedure. Okay, now first we are going to set the values using percentages. To get the percentage, we're going to multiply a value from the canvas, okay, canvas height or canvas width, times the percentage that we want. For example, if I want to set something, this character to be talking about the width, if we want this guy to set it to 50% of the width, so I would probably do this. I would use canvas width times 0.5. 0.5 is equals to 50%. Now, just remember this, 0.05, it is 5%. Okay? So now, for this bucket, we're going to set first its height and its width. For the width, we are going to use this value. We go for width, and we are going to use, what about from the width, from the total, I wanted to use probably the 0.07, that is the 7% of the width of the screen. Very thin, 10%. No, probably 15% from the width. I guess that's okay. Now, if you remember, this image is 64 times 64, so it is a square. So now in the second thing for the height, I'm going to use just the value from the width that we just calculated. So we go to bucket, we go for width, and that's it. So if we run this part, it is a perfect square. Okay? So now what's next? After we give them size or resize them, we are going to place them. Okay? So we're going to place now this cube or bucket in the x-axis. X-axis is in here, y-axis is this one. So the x-axis, you increase the values, okay, if you go to the right, and you decrease values when you go to the left. On the other hand, when you are like using the y-axis, you increase values going down and reduce going up. So now for this position, we're going to use also percentages. Okay, so now we're going to use, for example, for the x-axis, you have to use the width percentage. So, and we're going to set it almost at half. So probably 0.47, that is 47%. It's okay. So let's do it. Yes, quite in the center, quite. Now we are going to do the same for the y. We change in here. Remember, I duplicate just like this, duplicate, or you can say Ctrl C and Ctrl V and you paste this one. Now we just change for the y. We are going to use the height, and we are going to center or place this at the 0.7%. So in this case it's not 7%, it's 70%. So if we place it, it is almost at the bottom. I guess that's okay. For me it's okay. Now we're going to make this kind of bucket, or this character, we're going to make it invisible for the first time, because we want to display this image for start game. So we're going to set it to invisible. Now what's next? Now I guess for now it's okay with the character. Then we're going to start working with the balls, okay, and for the image and for the procedures. Okay, so the first thing is, well, now the next thing it is to work with the balls. We're going to create another procedure. Initialize balls. So what is necessary to do to initialize the balls? Well, I guess the main thing to do, it is just to place them in the y-axis in here, but I guess they initialize the balls, they are not necessary at the beginning. Okay, so we're going to skip this part and we're going to use the balls. We're going to create a procedure and rename it to make balls. Okay, so to do that, we're going to also disable the balls at the beginning. We're going to make them invisible when we start the game, so they are not visible, and also the bucket, it's not going to be visible. And we're going to use this procedure, we're going to insert it here in initialize. That's it. Now the next thing, what is the next thing? When we start, if I run the procedure right now, we don't have anything now, but we need to have here an image that it says start the game. So to do that, we're going to create another procedure, and this is just to control that, but we need another sprite to place the image. So we're going to call it start over, start and game over. Basically that is the idea. And then over message, no, or image, something like that. So at the beginning it is visible. So, and we're going to start here with this procedure. Well, let the make balls, let's just leave it like there. We're going to use it. Then we go for the second procedure to create this welcome thing or start. And we're going to call it start game over image. So now we have this, and we're going to go for this pixel or sprite, sorry, and we're going to make it visible. If it's not, we're going to set it to true. Then we're going to set the size, so we're going to duplicate this one from the bucket. We change this to start image, and we're going to set it to 70%. So times 0.7. Then for the height, there is something here. This is like a rectangular thing. So it is wider. So in this case, we're going to use the height. We're going to use this divided by 2. We're going to divide. We duplicate this one. And we're going to use from the start over image that we just calculated, we're going to divide it by 2 because this is the half of the size, because it is like a rectangle. Now, next thing, it is that we need to position this image at the beginning. So we're going to use X and Y. We duplicate this one, the height, and we're going to use Y. We duplicate the width, and we're going to use it for the X and Y. Now, I want to have for the Y, set this thing, it has to be height. But it's based on the canvas, sorry. So the Y, it has to be, we delete this one, sorry. It is the 35% of the height of the canvas. So it is at the 35, and then the X, it has to be probably something like 0.15. That's it, and then we need an image. So to do that, we're going to use this sprite to have a message or an image to display when the game is over and when the game it is just started. Okay, so that's why we're going to use this. So here in the in this square, we're going to click on this and we're going to add a slot. We are going to rename this to picture. So it is like a variable, and we're going to set picture from this image to picture, and then we're going to set the value when we call the procedure. Okay, and we're going to call the procedure when we start the game. So here we initialize, then we go for start game, which is the picture that we want to display. Well, we want to display the start game image, that is start game PNG. Sorry. Start game PNG. That's it. Now let's just refresh the screen to see if everything is going well. Yes, we have this image displaying. We are not seeing the player or the balls. So now, what's next? Well, we want to touch this or the screen, and we want to start the game. So we're going to start creating variables. So we're going to place the variables here on the right side, and we're going to call this one let's call it Are you playing? Are you playing? It is like a question. At the beginning, when we start the game, we are not playing, so it is false. So now, here, we're going to use a condition when we touch the screen, the canvas. So when canvas, it's touch, if this variable are you playing, it's equals to false, that means that you are not playing. So we're going to start the game, okay? So basically that is the idea, start the game. So we're going to create the procedure that it's called start the game. We're going to place it here and we're going to call it start the game. Now, what are the first things that we want this procedure does when we start the game? Well, first, if the game is enough, if I click this, I want to remove this image from here, basically. That is the idea. So I go for, you can do two things, or make it invisible, or you just unload the picture. Okay, you can say this, set start image, and then you just set to this empty text. Or you can use visible, and then you set it to false, basically. Okay, so I disappear this, and then I want to appear my player, so the bucket. We're going to use bucket, sprite, visible, and we're going to change this value to true when we touch in here. What's next? Well, we want to make the balls alive, or we want to appear the balls. So we can use like ball 1, ball 2, ball 3. Or we can make a group of balls. I guess we're going to make the group of balls. We go in here and we go to balls. To variables, and we're going to set, this group of balls. And we're going to set the group of balls to an empty list. Then when we start the game and initialize, we are going to add here, before everything, we are going to add items to the list, to this new list that we just created, group of balls. We are going to add the 3 balls. To do that, we're going to add the 3 slots, and then ball 1, and you go to the bottom and you just see the name of the component. Ball 1, when Ctrl C, Ctrl V, we paste. Ball 2, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Ball 3. And then when we start the app, okay, we are just going to create this list of balls. And now we can modify this using for each. So now we're going to go here and we're going to use this procedure that is make balls, and we're going to insert for each item or for each ball in the list. Which list? Well, the list that we just created, group of balls. What is the thing that we want to do when we start the game? Well, the very first thing, we are going to set some properties for the group of balls. To do that, we're not going to use here these blocks from here, the individual blocks. We're going to use blocks for groups, that is in any component. For any ball in the list that we just created, we are going to set. The first thing that we're going to set is the heading. When the part where you have of component, you are going to use here ball. For each ball in this list, set the ball, okay? In this case, the first property that we're going to modify is the heading. So the heading is the direction. We want the balls to go down. To do that, we're going to use this value. If you check the description, you have that way. If you want to go to the south, it is something, it is the sprites heading in degrees, okay? 90, it is going toward the top of the screen. Down, it is going down, minus 90, it is going down. So we just select here, minus 90. That means that the balls are going to have this direction, that they are going to be facing this part. So they go down. Next thing, we're going to make the balls visible. We duplicate this block from components, okay, from any component, or you can go here. You click any ball and then you go for visible. Set point all visible of component. Visible. Then we change this and they are going to be visible now. What's next? Well, the next thing for the balls, we need to change the size of the balls. We use the radius for the balls. We can duplicate this one and we just change from the drop down menu, radius. And the value that we're going to use, it is a value based on percentage. So now we're going to use here again something like math with times, and we're going to have this ball to be based on the canvas width, and we're going to set it to, we're going to use this also. I will explain you why. So we're going to use a random value. We don't want to have these balls the same size. So we're going to use this. And the random value, we're going to choose 20% and 4%. Even 5%, it's okay. Now we're going to divide this value by 100 to get the percentage. Canvas width times the random integer divided by 100. If we do it, for example, we have that is 0.04, that is 4%, 5%, 3% of the width of the canvas. Now what's next? We need to set the position for the balls. The first position that we're going to place for them, it is the Y position. Y position, it is at the top, so the part that is not visible. To do that, we're going to set them to 0. Now what's next? The X position. The X position, it has to be based on a random number again to make it more interesting. And we're going to go again to any image sprite. Then we go for X. Then we just drag or duplicate ball. And then we can use this one that we used before. And now the position, it has to be based on this, from the 15% of the screen of the width to the, I don't know, maybe here, if the total it is 100, probably to the 85. So we're going to use here 15 to 85. Now we need to change something extra. The interval. We duplicate this one, we change to interval, and this is going to help you to make your animation to go more smoothly. We're going to set it to 48, because that's okay, and then we're going to give them, allow them to move, just setting the speed. And remember the direction is -90, they are going to be like going down. So we set this to, what about if the speed is another random value? So we go here, we select a random value for the speed, and we're going to set it from probably from 4 to 14, 15, and that's it. Then we're going to use this procedure that we just created to make balls. We're going to use it in the initialize when we click on the screen. So to do that, we're going to take it from here, and we're going to say it is make balls, or start the game. It is make balls, right? So, and we're going to say make balls when people touch this thing. Make balls, and also, sorry, we're going to set this image invisible and the bucket visible, so our player. So we're going to call this procedure start the game. I guess that's the one. So say we set this thing, and there is another important thing. We need to change this value of the global are you playing, and we're going to change it. Now the game is starting, so now the game, are you playing? Yes, I am playing, or I'm starting to play. We're going to set it to true, and this is going to it is going to let us just disappear this image and not affect the game when we touch the canvas, okay? Because we can affect this thing about starting the game and touching the canvas just if this condition it is met, okay? That is global are you playing? So if are you playing is false, you can start the game, and we have to set it again to here to true, and in that way we are not going to be able to do it again just until we finish the game. So basically that is the thing. Let's see what happens when we touch here. Well, we just wait. Well, we have start. Okay, make voice. If we don't see anything, we need to review the code. Make voice. Start the game. Are you playing? Now, what else we need to modify? You just need to refresh everything. We touch, and then we just see the errors. Okay, we have something about property. Was expecting something extra. Ah, yeah, I know what is the mistake. In this case, you don't have set image sprite. You have to have set ball. Okay, X. So we're going to duplicate this one, and we're going to change this to X. We just drag this one in here, and we delete sprite. Set ball, set ball, set ball. And then we have this. Now check what happens now. Well, there are no collisions. So what is necessary now? Well, I guess what is necessary now is to check collisions to create a loop and balls falling once they just get to this edge. So that's why we're going to use the image that I showed you at the beginning, this kind of pink rectangle. It is not going to be like visible, but it's going to help us detect the collisions. So we go again for image sprite, and we're going to rename this to bottom edge, and we're going to set the image to bottom edge. Let me check. Fondo. It's over there. Position. What is the position? Well, for the position, we're going to use again percentages. And we're going to make this in, maybe we can insert it in one of these procedures, probably in the one that is at the top, initialize. So we just duplicate, and we just make it now this one, bottom edge, true. We duplicate, and then the Y position, canvas height. Let's set it to canvas height. That means that is up the top. Then we're going to place the X in 0, so that means that it's go over here, and then we just fix things. Let's set it to 0. That's it. I guess that's okay. So this is just the basic stuff. Now let's see what happens now when we start the game. So we have the game, we touch, we cannot touch anymore, we have cubes falling, and now we need to check the collisions with this kind of a pink square called, I guess, that's the name, I forgot the name. Anyway, so we go here in canvas touch, and this is going to help us start the game. Just let's move these things. So now what's next? Well, we have this, and when we start the game they fall, but we need to make them to reset their positions. Okay, so how to do that? Well, I guess the best thing that we have now it is, oh sorry, I guess is probably check the collisions of the balls or with the bottom edge. Okay, so this kind of graphic that it's in here, that it's not visible because it is behind the or it's inside this horizontal arrangement. So we're going to do it like that. We're going to check this collision of any of the balls with bottom edge. To do that, we're going to create again a procedure. We just drag it over here. Then we go here. And here. So let's call it reset balls. Reset balls. We're going to use a simple condition. If and also, you know, I forgot something. We're going to use for each because we're going to modify all the balls. Inside this, we're going to use another condition, but first this one, we change this to balls. For each balls in the list that we just created with balls. So that's this one, group of balls. And we're going to insert the condition if we have collision with the edge. Any of the balls has collision with the edge, the bottom edge. We're going to go here to any component, and we're going to draw here an image sprite. We're going to use this equals colliding with, we drag balls. We're going to set this, which if we have collision with bottom edge. Use the name. And if we have collision, any of the balls has collision with bottom edge, I want you to set this to true. Okay? Now, if we set it to true, then we are going to see this thing like, I guess we're going to see the balls disappearing and going to the top again. So we're going to reset some values, and we're going to use some values from here. So if you have collision with this bottom edge, I want you to change your position now to ball 0 again. So basically we're going to copy some of the values from here. We're going to duplicate the ball X, and we're going to insert it here when we reset the ball again. It's okay. And also where the interval is not necessary, but the speed, yes, because we are going to change the speed of the new balls. Then we're going to go to radius because we want to change the radius. when we have collision, and we just check everything. Here, X, Y, speed, and probably we're going to set the visible list, the heading it's okay, the radius it's over here, so we change the radius every time they collide here, the position they go to the top, and the ball in X they change its position. Then of course they are going to have another speed. We're going to change these to balls because there was a mistake over there. And there is another thing. If you think we have this collision, when we have the collision, we're going to subtract this for the lives. So we need to create a variable called lives. We're going to insert the variable over here. And we're going to duplicate any of these ones. We're going to call it my lives. We're going to set this thing to 0. This is the initial value. No, what is live? Sorry. It's incorrect. Lives. Sorry. My lives. Or my life. My life equals to 7. If my life equals to 7, so we're going to subtract this value. We go here to the right to the procedure section. So we're going to add if, when we have collision, and if, and if, and if, and if, and if. Let's use this one. If lives, the one that we just created, if global lives are more than 0, so we're going to do this procedure. And if the balls, if we have 0 lives else, okay, so that we have a value that is 0 or less, we're going to call a procedure called game over. Of course we don't have anything for game over right now, but we will have it, game over. So we are going to add this in here. Let me check because I guess I made a mistake. Oh, this is the make balls. Oh, sorry guys. I guess I haven't slept very well. So we are going to move the other one that I told you, and this goes in the collision section. So right now here in the reset balls. So again, if we have lives, okay, if lives are bigger than 0, we can do everything, okay, so resize and create more balls. Else, well, I found the mistake or the error. It is in here, check. It is called image sprite. These are not image sprites. These are balls, okay? So just be careful guys, because these are very common errors and sometimes you don't get it. Well, I don't get it. So any component, you go to any ball and then call ball colliding with. So it is a pretty silly mistake, okay, but you have to be careful with that guys. So I guess everything has to stay the same way because it was correct. Just that part. So again, so let's start. So well, here, if any of the balls are colliding, okay, with the bottom edge, so I want you to reset the radius, the Y position, the speed, and also the X position. So, and then they are going to start like in a loop, falling, touching, going up. So, well, let's hope. Well, not really, right? Well, we are going to set just this part that we are missing, because I was lazy to write here this. Reset balls. We reset the balls. And let's wait for this to happen or not. So now if the balls, if we have collisions, okay, the ball colliding with the bottom edge, we need to insert this here. Sorry, I'm a little bit like tired, maybe that's why. Sorry guys. Then you have this. Okay, now you have balls in random positions, random sizes every time they touch the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to just change these things. Also, we're going to using these values. We're going to set the balls appearing in a random position between the 15 and 85%. So they are not like falling. Okay, again, why? Because I added, remember, the variable life. So we just do it to see. Probably now it is equals to 0, so that's why we have they stop. Okay, remember, if the value it is bigger than 0, you can continue with this. If not, you stop and you call game over. But we haven't created game over. We just make like this thing, and we need to check or create game over. So what happened with game over? Game over, when we stop the game, we want to disappear first the graphic. Okay, so we want to disappear that. So just let me move this a little bit to here and this. So we're going to do that. We are going to create the game over. The first thing that we want to do is appear the other one, the image for game over. So this procedure that we just created, we just look for the name. The name is game over point png. So we use game over point png. Game over png. Now what's next? We need to disappear the bucket. So we make it invisible. Visible to false. And also we're going to set it to disable. Not visible, not enable. So false, false. Okay. That is something that we need to check in the start game procedure. We have the bucket visible, true, but also it has to be enabled again to start the game. Okay. When we have the game over, there is another variable that we need to add here. We need to change this thing that we created. That is the are you playing? Well, when we have game over, obviously we are not playing, so we set it to false. And that's it. So now, what if we just refresh the screen and we see what we have so far? So we refresh the screen, 70, and then we just check. So we have message, we touch, balls are falling, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we wait until they get to 7. That's it. We have game over there. but some of the balls were continuing like falling. Okay, so when you have the game over, you go to the blocks, everything is okay in there, so we just check the collision, reset the balls. We are going to reset the balls. So everything is disabled. So what's next? Well, probably you can change the balls or to make them invisible, right? So we are not going to continue with this because they are going to like be reset. So, but what happens if I touch right now? I have again. But the game is finishing just right away. Why? Because we need to make this in the game over. We need to set the variables again to, you can do it in the game over or when you start the game. You need to make the lives again to 7, so you need to reset this thing. So we're going to insert it here in the start game, live, and we're going to set it to 7. Now if I touch in here, now just wait for me to die for the bucket, and you can add more circles, okay, and that's it, game over. If I press again, I have now 7 life again, and I have more opportunities to continue playing with this. Okay, so well, basically that is the idea. So we have some problems, some mistakes, but I guess game it's looking better right now. Now what's missing now? We need to move the player, and also we need to add here to check the score. So we can check the score. For the next video we're going to work with the score. I recommend you watch the video about using or making a graphic score, okay, with PNG images, because I guess I just talk a lot in that video about explaining you how to make that thing. Okay, so we're going to make it for the next video, okay, so don't worry also, but it is better that if you check it before. Now the next thing that we need to do for the next video, it is to move the player, and for now, just to finish the video, we're going to add the score. Okay, so we go to where we have variables, and we're going to duplicate this one, duplicate the my life too, and we're going to change it to my score, and we're going to set it to 0. So we're going to leave it like that. We have this my score, we're going to use it in the next video, and if you check here, we have this, and probably, so what else? So you know what, let's move the player, okay, so, and we work with collisions in the next video. Okay, so to move the player, we are not going to use the speed value that we have, okay, so remember that we have in the sprites a property that it's speed. We're not going to use speed, we're going to use a clock to move the bucket. So basically this is the idea. You have different options. We're going to set it to 48, then we're going to disable this, and then we're going to go to the blocks, and then we're going to check what is the thing that we want to do, okay, how to move this thing. Well, I am planning to move it just when we press here or when we press here. So if I press here, I want the bucket to go here to this port. If I press here, I want the bucket to go to this part, okay, or this point in the screen. So that is the idea. Okay, so there are other ways you can drag it. Okay, So you can just press with some buttons in here, and then you just press go here, go left, go right. But we're going to use this method because this is going to, we're going to use this to affect something to make the game more interesting. We're going to affect the difficulty. Okay, but now, so I will explain you this. We're going to create here, you can use a procedure or you can use just the clock. We're going to use the clock. Clock. Sorry, it's getting quite slow, my Thunkable. Now we go here to clock. We just drag it here. We're going to use a procedure here to move this little thing. And we're going to change its X position. So we're going to use a procedure that is quite long, okay? So we're going to use the X position here. And we're going to modify this value, the current X position, plus, sorry for this commercial, then we're going to use again the current position in X. We're going to give the bucket a kind of movement that it's like it is like easy, quite like that, okay? So you are going to be like, this bucket is like increasing the speed, and when it's getting to the point, okay, to the destination, it's like getting slow, its speed. Now, to do that, we're going to increase this plus, and we're going to use another variable. We're going to create here a variable, and we're going to call it X position or X touch. Let's call it X touch. And we're going to set it to 0 at the beginning. Then we're going to use it here. And this value, we're going to get it from here, from canvas touch. We're going to get it here and check. Here in the starting thing, if you are playing, okay, if playing is false, well, we're going to use these things. Okay. Else, that means that if you are playing, we are going to get this property, the X property, that we're going to get this property from the touch of the screen. And this value, we're going to use it in here. So the first thing that we're going to do, it is just to, I hope you understand this thing, it is quite long, and sometimes the blocks looks confusing. So the current speed, okay, precision. Basically, the idea is the final destination, okay, minus the current destination, and then we are going to divide this by a value to reduce it. So, but it looks like quite confusing, but I will show you how to do that. So, as I told you, we're going to use here minus or subtract. We're going to subtract a value. Here, we're going to use this touch that we are using minus the current position, but I guess in the current position there is something extra that we can add. We are going to add this, we're going to duplicate this one and check. We're going to use another one. We want to center the final position. We're going to center the final position. To do that, we are going to use width, and we're going to, oh sorry, it's not here, it's divided by, we're going to divide it by the width of the bucket divided by 2. So here we inserted in here better. So global touch minus this divided by 2 minus the X position times we're going to use here times a number. So now for this number I will show you something very interesting. For example, this number we're going to keep it less than 1, so 0.5, and then we're going to try it. So to do that we have to enable the clock. We're going to enable the clock when we start the game. So we go for this, start the game. We need to go for this option for the clock that it says enable clock, and we're going to check how this thing works. Just give me a second. It's getting slow, my computer, so that's why I guess this is the last thing that we're going to do today, and then we're going to continue with the tutorial. Sorry guys. I know some of the things are quite confusing, but if you check it, okay, little by little, you will get the idea. So clock 1 timer enable equals to true when we start the game. Also, we are going to do something here. We are not going to use it today, but we are going to reset the score to 0 every time we start the game. Now, clock 1 timer enable. When we finish the game, we want to stop the clock. Okay, so we're going to go to this and we're going to stop the clock. So just give me a second. We're going to disable the clock when we finish the game. But now, as I was explaining you, when we set this to 0.5, this value, final value, check. We're going to check. If you see at the end, this guy, it is like stopping, like, and it's in the middle of where we touch. What happens if I use another value like 0.1? So let's see what happens when we are using 0.1. Check. When you have smaller values, this player is reducing, the bucket is reducing its speed. It is getting very slowly to the final part. What else if we set it to 0.9? It's very, very fast. 0.05, like 5% check. It's super, super slow. Now, that means that we can use this value to reduce the speed, so we can use it as a variable called slowing factor. If you have a very small value in the slowing factor, let's set it at the beginning. So we call this to slowing factor, and we're going to use it in here. So that means that we can modify this value. For example, if we get more balls, we can make that this value reduces, okay? So it gets reduced, so the bucket, it will reduce its speed little by little, and it would make the game more difficult. That is the idea, or the point. Okay, so right now let's keep it just in 0.7, and for the next video we're going to work with the rest of the things. Anyway, I hope you liked this tutorial, and sorry for the mistakes guys. Okay, I will see you next time. Please share this video, and remember, if we get more than 25 likes, I will share all the files or images that you need to create this simple but interesting game. Okay, you have many possibilities with this kind of game. I will see you next time. My name is Eduardo. Goodbye.